Everybody, it's Matt Fury here at NAMM 2019 with our good friend Tony Maserati. Tony just did an amazing session with Mix with the Masters. As usual, audience was packed with people looking to leverage your expertise and your insight. With all these young people coming up to you and asking you about growing their careers in the business, what do you find is often the biggest mistake they make as mixers or as record producers?
Well, as we talked about in our discussion today, all too often people are focused on some final goal. And that goal for a young mixer could be they're focused on mixing all the time. They're not really focused on understanding the equipment and logging all the sonics involved with the equipment. They're just trying to do a good mix. So they're not spending time with a vocal on every kind of piece of equipment, whether it's digital or analog. They're just trying to mix, and that's a process that doesn't leave you with a set of sounds in your head. And the bank of sounds is what allows you to move fast and allow your ideas to come to fruition. That's really what it's all about.
You talked about a concept during the session you called. What is? Just give us the quick 5-minute tour of what a practice session is, or what it is as a concept for a mixer.
Well, a practice session can be anything from working with a particular piece of equipment, digital or analog, and using and sending a variety of different audio program material through it, vocal, guitar, bass, whatever it is, and then messing with it, and then saving presets if it's digital, and logging settings if it's analog. But also, practice session can be, a more free-form thing where you're sitting with in my case, my seconds, and somebody will say, how about if we make this vocal sound like X, Y, and Z, whether it's from a reference from a different song or just something in their head. Okay, who's going to go up for that? And somebody will sit down at the desk and go for it, and they've got 10 minutes to make that thing come through so everybody can hear whether or not it's a good idea. And again, it's like a guitar player who practices or an athlete who practices. The more you practice, the more your muscles do things without thinking. They just do it easily.
So you work with a lot of different artists, a lot of different styles of music, Lady Gaga, Beyonce, Alicia Keys. Does your approach change depending on the artist or depending on the type of music, or is it pretty much the Tony Maserati way of doing things each time?
Well, my overall methodology stays the same. In other words, how I set up my sessions, how I take breaks. That generally stays the same, but what differs is what speakers I might be listening to. Also, depending on the artist, I might say put an SSL, channel on every drum track, and I might put a Neve on every, vocal track, and I'll just mess with groups of things, based on a sonic, footprint that thing has. So it does change depending on the sort of market, where the song is going to fit. Between what two songs is this song going to work?
So when you're working, is there something or some things that you just can't do without?
Well, there's a lot of things I can't do without, really. I mean,
you made a big point about, I believe it was hardware inserts, was something you were really, just really focused on in our presentation.
Yeah. I can't live without hardware inserts. Mine depends on hardware inserts, because I still like using analog gear. I still like using analog compression. I still like using analog EQ, and I want to be able to put an analog compressor in between two digital things. Like I like to subtract on a digital EQ and then put a compressor and then maybe add an analog compressor, an analog EQ. So I like being able to do that, and I need perfect delay compensation. I can't have any issues with delay compensation. Phase is a really important thing that I pay attention to. And I find that the HDIOs are the only thing that allows that to happen.
Well, there were so many great pearls of wisdom like that in your Mix with the Masters session. We appreciate you doing it. Thanks so much for coming out and joining us here at NAMM.
Pleasure, Matt.
And you know, you're at home. You probably missed Tony's session. That's too bad. But there's going to be a lot of great content here at NAMM 2019 from the show floor live on Avid Link. So download the Avid Link app. You're going to hear more from people like Tony and learn a lot of great stuff.